You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hello and welcome to In the Lab with Genifer. I want to introduce my special guests, Ian Sieb and Kayvon Kalabari.
Kalatbari.
I was close. I was not going to attempt it, but I was feeling pretty confident. And fail.
It was good.
It's okay. I see Kayvon as a name like Madonna that doesn't need a last name anyway. You know, it's like, Kayvon who? It's like, yeah, no one's ever going to say that. So why do you need a last name?
I like it.
Right?
Let's push that.
Yeah, let's push that. So anyway, and they're from Denver Relief, an amazing dispensary here in Colorado. And one of the first, I believe, and they can tell us more about that. And then Denver Relief Consulting. They're consulting all over the place. And also the Green Team, which is their payback to the communities, you know, throughout the states that they're located in. They'll talk about that, more about that. But we just got back from the National Business Conference in Seattle. Actually, it wasn't in Seattle. It was in Auburn, Washington.
At the racetrack.
At the racetrack.
Eerily similar to 2010, right? When
Yeah.
we were applying for our licenses.
Yes. So what they're referring to is back in 2010, Colorado's Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division was actually located in the racetracks here in Colorado, but since has moved, and that's where our conference was in Auburn, Washington. And all of us were there, and we just got back. So actually, Kayvon, didn't you go to some other
Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Yeah, it's great.
That's right.
Saw the Wolverines go down in the big house for the first time in 20 games.
Oh, no.
It was great.
Well, that sounds exciting for all of you sports fans out there. Anyway, so
I had to fly to San Francisco, too.
Oh, you did?
I just got back from California yesterday.
Oh, my God. You boys.
We're traveling.
You are traveling. I mean, I thought I traveled a lot, and I travel 1/3, maybe, of how much you guys travel. But that's the necessary part of spreading the good word of cannabis, is face-to-face interaction, so people can see that it's serious and not tie-dyes and Bob Marley, although it can be that too. But all right, so let's talk first and foremost about Denver Relief, how you guys met and how you decided to take the step into cannabis, which you got into it when? Denver Relief.
Denver Relief has been around since May of 2009 is when we started.
May of 2009.
May
Early.
21st, 2009.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we started, the way that it all came about was kind of, it's a cool story. I was helping people get their medical marijuana licenses. At the time, there weren't a lot of doctors that were making it known to the public that they were compassionate, would help people obtain their medical marijuana licenses. So I met Kayvon and our former partner through a mutual friend, a woman that I went to high school with.
Oh.
I helped her get her license, and she introduced me to these guys. And they were contemplating starting a business in the industry, and I had been thinking about it anyway for some period of time, and had, for various reasons, said no to different individuals. And Kayvon and this other gentleman and I met, and they introduced me to biodiesel, and I asked them if I could join them as partners.
Oh, really? Is that how it happened?
Yeah, I said I can bring this and this to the table, and they had, we all had unique elements we brought to the table, and we knew each other for about a week.
Wow.
And we started Denver Relief with $4,000. Kayvon pitched in $2,000. I pitched in $2,000. Our third partner, who was our grower, pitched in 1/2 pound of biodiesel, and we
and there you go.
Got a phone number, some magnets on our cars, and started a delivery service.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is fascinating. So I was in Arizona from 2004 to 2009, and then moved back in like March of 2009. And I was like, Whoa. Like, wow. There are certainly a lot of dispensaries opening up. It was crazy. I didn't know what to think. And I'm like, and do you know that I didn't even know it went legal in 2000? I had no idea.
I think a lot of people
Like
didn't.
most people. Yeah.
Until you saw the stores. A lot of people didn't know you could go get your card for all those years.
For all those years. What a shame.
It was hard to find a doctor back then.
True.
And that was one of the reasons Ian was a big asset on the front end. Was I had some business experience with the pizzeria, and then Adam with his growing abilities and genetic lineup, and Ian with being a social butterfly and having the connections to a doctor that at that point was willing to write a rec, which was very tough to find. So it was just a kind of a perfect storm that came together.
That is amazing. So biodiesel is actually has been a strain that you and him or he or has had forever?
It came from Ohio a long time ago. A lot of our initial genetics did.
Really?
That's through the
Ohio. That's the
lineage
last
goes
place
back.
I would think genetics.
Ohio has a very impressive underground grossing. Huge hotbed of marijuana cultivation and trafficking in that state.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing some cool things. A lot of people are from the industry out here in Colorado and California are from Ohio originally. But,
right, and I've seen people, and met people from Ohio, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
So okay, so you have your $4,000 and your half a pound of biodiesel.
Right.
Which is not possible now in any state.
No, it'll never happen again.
It'll never happen again.
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was pre-regulation.
Yep.
And things have changed dramatically. But that's all it took back then. People taking, interpreting the law of Amendment 20 of the Colorado State Constitution and saying, if I care for this many people, I am legally allowed to possess this much cannabis. There was no rules or regulations in terms of how you got rid of it, if you were allowed to, if you had to charge tax, if you didn't have to charge a tax. And so that's how a lot of people started, and they did it under the caregiver model.
Right.
Many shops that are still around today were operating under the caregiver model before a patient could even designate a medical marijuana center to be their provider. It used to be individuals only.
It was a slow growth over time. It was chicken or the egg thing. We had to, we couldn't have patients without plants, and we couldn't have plants without patients. And it was really dictated by that count. We didn't have money either, and you couldn't have money without either one of those.
Right.
And so we had a lot to overcome. It was a steady growth. That's why we started delivering, was to just keep saving, because we didn't have any outlets for money lending. We didn't have even really. we did have a bank and we did have merchant processing, but under the we were really one of the first people to get signed up with the bank and with what was it, Heartland Payment Systems at the time as a merchant processor. We were their first and only client in the United States. It was a medical marijuana center, and they kept us for a good 2 or 3 years. But it was just that slow growth of saving money, and about 6 months after starting the delivery service in May, we opened our location at 1 Broadway, which has been there for a while. That was, talking about all the all the places in Denver that were open around that time. We had 18 other people, I think, vie for that spot.
Oh,
and
really?
we applied for it all in this industry, and we ended up getting it because we had a business plan prepared.
Right.
Ian's
Professional.
They weren't walking in half naked and smelling. And
right.
We heard the stories of a lot of the people that applied, and they didn't carry that demeanor that we're talking about now, the professionalism that we tried to bring to it. But we got it because of that business plan, because of his Ian's nonprofit experience, and then my business experience. So, and just the willingness to put on some clothes that aren't rags and go in and talk to people like they're human beings.
Exactly.
That helped too.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. Well, and back to that, when people were 1284 and you had to get a license and stuff. All kinds of things where people are filling out their application like during the, right at the MED and not, just silly things that if you know any business 101 that you don't do, but it's pretty funny, pretty interesting. So, 1 Broadway, you got your dispensary, and then was that the first one in Denver?
It wasn't the first, but it's the longest continuously running. There have been several that started up that are no longer in existence, or they've traded ownership, or they've changed names and all ownership completely, or they've moved. Right. So we believe that we're the longest continuously running, same primary owners, same majority ownership, and same vision. Nothing has changed about us except for we're getting better with our cannabis cultivation. We're learning more about the industry.
Right.
And
exactly. And you're leading the industry. I mean, let's just say that you are. I mean, Denver Relief and Denver Relief Consulting is well known across the country, if not in the world, and it's very exciting. I mean, do you ever, because like I try to like pinch myself because I can't believe that really this is happening. I mean, it's bizarre.
I'm personally still, I'm not satisfied, I guess. Very not disappointed, that's not the right word, but I always feel that we could be further along than we are with certain things, and we could be doing them better. Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. I mean,
there's always room to grow.
I think no matter like these applications we're doing in Massachusetts and Connecticut, no matter how good they're going to be, I know that we didn't have just 2 weeks to stew in them, right? And to polish them to make them perfect, and they're going to be great. They're going to be better than 99% of the people that submit in Massachusetts. Right. I'm confident in that, but just not as good. And we kind of take the same approach with our consulting as we did with the center, which is we understand a lot of people aren't on board with what we're doing. They're not on board with marijuana in general. And if we can go and help change that perception of folks first locally in the community, business owners, nonprofit organizers, with the Green Team getting involved with local community gardens and bike shops and soup kitchens and stuff like that, going to the very lowest level and proving to those people that you deserve to be there, and then having that discussion with the city council and the mayor, and that works its way up to the state level. But really just starting grassroots and slowly showing people what we're about in hopes that it'll change their perception over time. I think we're starting to do that in Mass and Connecticut quite a bit, starting up in Canada, but definitely have a long ways to go because there are some folks that aren't trying to do it as responsibly, trying to take advantage.
Right, and that's very interesting because I remember sitting there at the city and county of Denver here, my first, the first time that the labs are able to get a license and be recognized, which is very exciting. So I'm sitting there listening and just what you have to go through. So all these people in Mass and stuff like that, they have no idea, like, yeah, it's legal, but now it's really when it starts. It's really when you have to prove to landlords and to your community and to other people and to schools, that this truly is, has a big medicinal factor. But it's like you have to prove yourself all over again constantly.
It's fun, though. It's we've gotten to a point where we've refined our talking points. We know what we need to hit on heaviest. We know what groups to identify, what people to identify, whose minds we need to change. And that, there's been some luck involved too. But within that hard work and that luck combined, we've done pretty well so far this year. Connecticut, for instance, in Middletown, we worked for about 2 months chatting with city council, the mayor of Middletown, community groups. Ian reached out to them for Green Team, police chief, fire chief, and really talked with all these people and got them on board with our client leasing 15,000 square feet with an additional 15,000 square feet from the city for a city-owned building, which is pretty massive. So,
oh my God! Say that again.
Assuming we get our license,
city-owned.
Assuming we get our license, we'll be the first, or our client. Which will be an active part of on the back end, will be the first cultivation facility for medical marijuana in the country that's in a municipality-owned building. So pretty exciting.
Wow. Now that is gigantic. That is huge. Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Extraction Tech Solutions. Not only is it safe, but it offers one of the only ETL certified essential oil extraction systems on the market. Our equipment meets or exceeds all of the North American safety standards. Customer relationships are important to us, so after the sale, it doesn't stop for us. We are reliable and therefore when our customer needs us. We offer pre- and post-sales training, method development, services, and repairs. Extraction Tech, safe and reliable because it matters. Contact us at www.extractiontech.com. or 720-515-9254. Cannapunch is a delicious and effective medical marijuana beverage proudly made right here in Colorado. Each bottle is freshly infused with 100% pure flower extract from the highest grade marijuana plants available today. Using proprietary extraction methods, every bottle of Canapunch is consistently and reliably infused with an exact milligram dosage that you can count on to relieve your symptoms each and every time. Canapunch is delicious. There's never any medicine-y taste. We use only 100% cannabis flowers. No trim or byproducts are ever used in Canapunch. It does not require refrigeration and comes in convenient, resealable multi-dose bottles from 60 milligrams to 200 milligrams. We have drinks with dosage that works best for you. Canapunch is available in a variety of delicious flavors like black cherry, watermelon, pineapple mango, and blue raspberry. And we now have strain-specific beverages available just for you. Canapunch is delicious, convenient, consistent, and effective. Give it a try and experience the Canapunch difference.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Okay, so we were talking about educating people and such, and actually having a city building. That's amazing. That says a lot to me, because I think that people approach it differently. I think a lot of people approach it to where, oh, yay, it's legal now, so they'll have to follow along, and that's not the case.
A lot of people follow the law in general. If something is deemed illegal, people stay away from it. And if it's that question's come up a bunch when they're chatting with these folks in these new states. It's like, why don't you're okay with marijuana? Why don't you use it? Because it's illegal. Like, that's the only reason. There's no issue they really have ethically or morally or anything else to it. It's just they don't.
They don't break the law.
They don't break the law. And yeah, it's big in all these new states to get local approval or local support even. It can't just be non-opposition anymore in these new states coming in. You have to get a letter from the city planner, from zoning, maybe even from the mayor, from your landlord, all saying, yes, we're aware these people are doing what they're doing and we want them to be here. And you've really got to get that spelled out. And that's becoming much more difficult for folks in these new states, especially as these facilities need to be bigger with the fewer licenses available.
Right.
So here in Colorado, we have 500 dispensaries serving 108,000 people. In Massachusetts, we're going to have 150 to 2,000 people being served by 35 centers. So big difference. We're going to see places like Denver Relief that do 300 to 800 people. There's going to be a month, places that serve over 5,000 people in a month, some more along the Harborside Spark type model.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine that. Wow. So going back, were you scared at all when you were delivering and stuff? I mean, because when I started, I was scared. I was.
Sure. In the beginning, we weren't quite sure what to expect, but we put everything that we did, all of our processes, everything that we've done, our facilities layout, everything we've created. And the same thing went for our security protocol. And we created our own and put in place what we thought was a foolproof way to avoid having any security issues. And it was real easy. We had a digital camera that we would take with us, and it had a portable scanner, and would copy people, originally take pictures with the camera. We then switched to cell phones, where we would then sending it in to the office. But we would get a copy of the person's ID, and so we knew who we were dealing with. We made people place an order prior to seeing the medicine, especially a first timer.
Right.
You're just, this is what we have. What do you want? It's going to be prepackaged for you. And nobody got into our vehicles. We always met somebody in public the first time that we were meeting them.
Sometimes even thereafter, if they're shady.
Yeah, sometimes thereafter. We have some pretty interesting stories. If you're familiar with, in Denver, there's a Burger King right on Colfax and Calumet, where it's right across the street from the Metro campus. And while we were doing a delivery one time, it was the first time that we were meeting some patients. In fact, he ended up being an employee of ours. We made a delivery to somebody, and the hired security guard for the parking lot, who was a bail bondsman, made like a citizen's arrest on our driver and called the cops. Or my driver called me and said, this guy's dragging me out of the car. I said, call the police. So we called the police. The cops came. I went there. We met them. Like, these guys are dealing drugs. No, sir. This is a legal transaction. This guy's a patient. This guy's my employee. They had the drug task force come out. The guys that we see on TV, like the same guys came out, plainclothesmen. And the drug task force and Denver Relief had to talk with the Denver police and explain what was going on and what was legal and what ended up happening. And we ended up having the opportunity to press charges against the bail bondsman who illegally went into our employee's car and grabbed him and then went and searched his vehicle without permission. And it was crazy, but those types of security things that we put in place allowed us to avoid having any serious security issues as a result of it. The one security issue that we had was with our old partner, somebody who we do no business with anyway, who didn't follow our security guidelines and did something stupid and listened to somebody's sob story and allowed a stranger into their vehicle, and he got carjacked. And they took his car. We got everything back. They took some medicine. They took our credit card processing machine, a portable credit card processing machine. But in our entire delivery time, that was the single worst episode, was somebody pointed a gun at him.
Wow.
He got out of the car, and we got the car back. We got everything back. Nobody was hurt. And we've been very, very lucky thus far.
It's good to have those moments. They teach you that you do need to watch out for yourself.
That's right.
There are people that are, trying to attack this industry, not just criminals, politicians, like everybody. Everybody's trying to get their hands on this. And when we built out our space, we had that in mind. There were break-ins happening in dispensaries all over Colorado. There were hostage situations.
Yes.
There were
machetes,
people tying up other folks, people breaking in from adjacent spaces. Breaking in through ceilings, all sorts of stuff. So we took all this in mind when we developed our retail design, and it involved wrapping our entire space in industrial gauge chicken wire so no one could bust through the walls, motion sensors everywhere, the casino grade security systems that we were once required to have by the Med and now don't necessarily need to be that great. Hey, we have them anyways, and they're nice and robust and do us well. But a lot of those things along the way, being able to grow slowly like that, allowed us to get those processes in place, which makes our consulting so beneficial in the back end for these new folks, because they don't know what they're doing, and they're going to be taking what we've learned over the last 4.5 years and trying to cram it into a very condensed couple-month period. So without someone like us or some other qualified person who's been in the commercial environment in this industry, it's almost impossible to navigate on your own.
This is the one time in my entire life. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are consultants needed in a variety of industries, but this industry, people are absolutely crazy if you don't get a consultant. And personally, I think that consultant should be out of Colorado because we're the only ones regulated. I mean,
we're the first. Arizona is regulated now, and they have a regulated model. They have some good consultants down there.
Do they?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
There's some good people that we're working with. Forefront Advisors, for example.
Oh, is that out of Arizona?
Yeah, they're out of Arizona.
Oh, I didn't know that.
From the Canby model. I mean, they're based off a Harborside model, but
okay.
But they're based down in Arizona. But they don't have cultivation piece either. They don't have infused products or extractions.
That's gigantic.
A lot of these other pieces to the business that we're finding are probably the piece that people need to know most about. I mean, everybody's seen the inside of a retail center. Retail's not a very difficult thing.
Retail is not difficult.
Retail's retail. You take money, you make products look pretty.
Right.
You competitively price them, and you train your staff to be impeccable in their demeanor. But production and processing, if you don't get that right, you're not going to have those people in your store. And what we're starting to find out is there are not a lot of people that have that acumen that are willing to spend their time teaching other people how to do it for money, because they're focused on their own businesses.
Right.
Which is why we're at a unique point, because we got to a point where Denver Relief is self-sustaining. We've got a great GM in Andy Betts, who's still obviously learning every day, but taking more and more from us every day and allowing Ian and I to really step aside and focus on these other opportunities. So we can take our learnings and everything that we've really acquired and these contacts that we're making now, and have time to focus on that and help other people promote the industry instead of just trying to
spread the
open
education.
50 Denver Reliefs.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. So Denver Relief only has one location.
That's right.
At the 00
Which is
block
very
in the
smart.
capital city of the state that's the capital of marijuana commerce in the world. So it's pretty fitting.
It's beautiful, to be honest. But what? So would you open another location? I mean, would you need to here? Because I see people just loading up on locations, but it's all about the
what
grind.
we're finding now, and this was never the intention, but as we're getting involved in these other states, people are seeing how necessary our input is. And we're having to define these relationships on the back end. What are they? Are they consulting agreements? If so, what does that look like? Are they advisory agreements? If so, what does that look like? Are we helping manage this?
Right.
Or are we becoming equity partners? In a place like Massachusetts, that's not very easy because they're a nonprofit, but Connecticut, all these new states coming online are for-profit entities. So we're getting all sorts of offers once we've worked with these people for the application side, and they're understanding the type of people that we are and vice versa. We're seeing if we work together, and sometimes those opportunities are coming about, but it's in other states. It's maybe there's one in each state that's the model. I can't anticipate we're going to have a Springs or a Boulder or a Fort Collins or any of that happening soon.
Yeah.
Anything else in Colorado, it would happen elsewhere if it happened. And it's not a desire of ours necessarily.
Right.
I
would never want to be into retail, just for the record. I don't know how you guys do it. I go down. I'm in. I was in dispensaries for years, hitting the pavement and just hearing people constantly complain about price and stuff, and it really sucked when people started dropping prices because it's not cheap to grow.
That's been the beauty of our model, though, is that we've been able to keep those prices high.
And
we've
thank
been able
God.
to offer a better quality and a better level of customer service. And we've weeded out all of those people that want the $15, $20, $25 rates.
Because you get what you pay for in growing.
Oh, without a doubt. And
For
we're
sure.
seeing that market segment out. We're seeing people that just want their B grade and they want it mass produced. They want it machine
It's like the
trimmed, they don't care.
Coors and Bud.
New Belgium, and then you have your renegade breweries and your fine little microbrews, which is what we would consider ourselves. And when you get larger, you lose some of that over time, not just in the product, but in the experience and what people get when they come in. We don't want to have a revolving door. We want people to come in and spend as much time as they want to spend.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We've been very fortunate to not have that conversation when you speak about the horrors of retail. We're busy enough to not want to open more, but I don't think that we really ever had that problem. We don't really the patient base that we attract doesn't come in and complain about prices. We know that there's $100. For example, there's a shop down the street, less than a half a mile down the street from us. $100 ounces all day, every day. We have ounces. Our most expensive ounce for non-members is $335 after tax. Still 3.5 times what they're charging down the street. And so the people that come in to their shop are not the people that are coming into Denver Relief.
Absolutely.
And if they come into Denver Relief, they'll probably come in one time and say, this isn't the shop for me, and they'll go elsewhere. And that's fine. We're fine with that, and they're fine with that.
I think half those people will come in, discover the difference, and because listen, when people come, and even me, I know nothing about growing. I'm not necessarily a connoisseur. I can't tell you what strains, the difference between smelling a strain. It's unbelievable that you guys can do that. But I definitely know when I'm smoking crappy marijuana. I definitely know that now, and I think people would rather spend more money. I mean, it's just like Coors Light and your micro beer. They cost significantly more. They're the same alcohol. Well, some are the same alcohol content. But I truly believe there'll always be those consumers that are looking for something more.
It's definitely turning into that kind of an industry.
I think so too.
As any consumable product, there are levels of quality, and when you start to see those contrasts stacked up on each other, you begin to see the differences very starkly. And people will, I'm sure, come into Denver Relief on occasion and buy something, and they'll probably go back to the older place. It might be a little more difficult too, because they've seen something else. But I think that's great for the industry because over time it raises expectations on what the standard is and what to expect. And that is, again, just not the product, but the customer service and
everything,
the facility design, the cleanliness, just all the pieces of this industry. We're trying to create a standard. Nobody's operating by the same rules. I mean, we are on a regulatory sense, but not in how a business is operated.
Right.
And that's all being developed. And once people see what works and what people like, what customers like, soon here, not just patients, but customers, then I think we'll see those become more in line with each other.
Well, and what you want to provide. You know, I think there's a lot of dispensaries here that just haven't picked what they want to do. It's like, okay, if you want to offer $20, $25 eights, then obviously you need to cut corners and not use the top of the line products. I mean, that's the way it goes. Mm-hmm. So I think people are starting to get educated about that. Whereas, a few years ago, they didn't. But I got to take a break and we'll be right back.
Ideal 420 soil is preloaded to perfection with all your nutrient, microbial, and biostimulant needs. It's compatible with all strains and is good for a 22-week grow cycle from seed to harvest. This product is 100% organic and gives your marijuana that awesome aroma and smooth taste we all desire. Ideal 420 Technologies is well grounded in soil chemistry, soil physics, and microbial biology, making them the most advanced soil company in the marijuana industry. They do the science so growers can focus on what truly matters, the plants themselves. No more mixing and feeding of expensive nutrient lines, supplements, and foliar sprays. Not to mention, the company is prideful in being the most consistent soil product that has yet to hit the market. Due to the results when using Ideal 420 soil, they are quickly changing the standard for cannabis cultivation. To order the product, go to ideal420soil.com. Use promo code INTHELAB for an additional 20% off.
Call Canisher at 1-800-420-5757 for all your insurance needs. Canisher understands the risks you face each day, and we are there to protect your business and your investment. Since 2010, Canisher has been serving the cannabis industry nationwide. Call Canisher at 1-800-420-5757 or visit us on the web at canisher.com to learn more about our insurance and risk management services. Proud member of the NCIA.
Tired of dispensary hopping? Trying to find quality meds? Look no further and get to know Greenworks. Our shops are stocked with over 20 strains of organically grown meds, including R4, the highest tested CBD strain in Colorado. Yes, we back up our quality with testing. While Greenworks offers only the highest quality meds, we don't believe in high prices, with eighths ranging from $20 to $40 and ounces capped at $175. With 2 centers in Denver and 1 in Glenwood Springs, we're likely closer than you think. Call 303-647-5210 to find the location nearest you. National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
All right. And we're back. So, so we're talking about distinguishing between other dispensaries. And I mean, I can't, and I relate a lot to that because people want to know why my prices are twice as much as the rest. And, well, it's because I do legitimate science and I have employees and I have to pay insurance and all of that stuff. I'm not working in my basement or driving around with something and not a chemist and, the list goes on and on. So
you don't pour your solvents down the drain when you're done with them?
Yeah, no, don't do that.
The mobile testing labs?
Yeah. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they get solvents anyway. Solvent companies will not distribute to your house, nor will Airgas. So I don't know how they were getting all of those things. And it's very expensive for waste, to get waste taken away.
We wouldn't test with anybody else, Jennifer.
I love you. Thank you very much. Okay. But
we only test with Can Labs.
Anyway, I wanted to tell you guys a story that I don't think I really have ever told you. So back in 2010, it's very interesting. We came on the scene right after Full Spectrum got the DEA knocking on their door. Now, the DEA was knocking on their door because they applied for a DEA license. They thought they were doing the right thing.
Right.
Okay, so let's clarify that. But Anyway, so it's right after that. I think they were busted in March or something. We started doing our due diligence in March and actually applied for or got our business license. My partner at the time couldn't even wait one day. He got it April 19th. I could have killed him. The funny thing is my partner now, Steve, actually got his license on 420 for his other company. It's the weirdest thing. So anyway, so during that time, I had to go do some market analysis, and so I went to dispensaries to ask what they felt about testing and to kind of. And you're the first dispensary I went to. I don't know why or how. I just thought, wow, they're in with urgent care. They've got a great location. You know, I think there's a police station or was right there, wasn't there?
We're right next door to a police station.
So I'm like, I'm going here. So, and I don't know who was standing behind there. I know was it you? When I asked, do you remember that? So I came in and I said, yeah, I'm just wondering if you guys have tested meds here or something like that, just to get your reaction. And maybe it was you.
Down.
No, you guys said, you know what? We want to test products, but we don't feel like the testing company here. We've done some experiments with them, but we would love to test our products, is what you said. So that was my first market. I'm like, yeah, because I'm competitive. I'm going to come in and kick ass, is what I was thinking. So yeah, so you guys were my first market research. I went to somebody down the street from you and got some ridiculous reasons why they don't test, and then some free cannabis out the door too when I didn't even have my red card yet. I was like, okay, you don't want to work with them. But yeah, you were the first shop I went to, and there was definitely a reason for that.
Cool.
So it's pretty exciting that it's come around full circle. Also, Ian and he really made me work for his business, and I totally appreciate that. I really do. And I think that the harder you have to work for business, the better a little relationship ends up being. And so it took me a long time to get these guys to test with Can Labs, and I'm very proud that I have their business. But another thing I'd like to say about these guys is they're very concerned about what they sell in their store. And I think that is another thing that separates them is they want to know that what they carry, what it says on the label, the people behind the product are good people. They're doing good things. And so I've always respected you for that. I really have.
Appreciate
you guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Because not a lot of people really care. They just want to, even if it doesn't have what it says in it, they'll sell it anyway because it's a big seller.
There's a lot of very popular while-selling products in the market in Colorado that we don't have on our shelves for various reasons.
Right. Well, and the good news is you're not going to have to take them off your shelf because they're not going to be around. I mean, that's the bottom line.
That's very, very true in some cases. A lot of those products are simply not going to be a part of the retail adult use model or the market. They'll be banned.
They will be banned.
Yeah.
So this is just such a big thing, and that's the green team. So I want you to explain how that came to be, what it is, and how people can get involved in that in the states you're in.
Absolutely. Both Kayvon and myself have been involved with different philanthropic causes and giving back to the community for some time prior to being involved with medical cannabis. Kayvon is a mentor with Denver Kids and has been mentoring a young man for several years now, and is now mentoring more than one young person. And I have been involved with various different charitable organizations throughout my adult life. I do a lot of work with the Allied Jewish Federation of Colorado, or it's now called Jewish Colorado, which provides philanthropic dollars to all kinds of 501c3s. Do a lot of work with a community farm here called ECAR. I'll get into that here in a minute.
Cool.
I run my own nonprofit. I created a nonprofit several years ago with two of my best friends, and we put on cultural activities.
E3.
That's right. E3 events.
I went to one of the best.
Ian, Eric, and Ezra.
Does it really? I was wondering. I went to the best. So my family's not in Colorado, and so I'm always searching. If I'm not out of Colorado, I'm searching for something around the holidays, and it's Christmas Eve, and it's quite a party.
Yeah, it's called Hedonism.
Hedonism, that's right. And it is hilarious, and it's great.
Thank you. We have it coming up again this year. It's going to be at a brand new venue on Colfax. It's not even open yet. I'll tell you about it offline.
Very good.
In any event, I have been involved with giving back to the community and being charitable and really focusing on making the world a better place than when you got here. And I think that it's a very simple virtue that all humans should work towards, and everybody has the capacity to try and make the world better, and I just feel it's an obligation to us as human beings to do so. And being in the cannabis industry, I think that we have come to the belief that we have to show even more so that we want to make the world a better place, and we do so. I mean, that's why we got involved with Denver Relief. Our very first meeting minutes say that the reason why Denver Relief ceased to exist is to help people. It's not to make money. I mean, certainly it's to make money, but the reason why it exists is to help people.
Right.
And if you take that same theory and you apply it to what we've done in community service, it's very, very simple, and it's taking cannabis patients that are physically able to give back to their community with different community service-based activities. And it started off very, very something very casually, and that was a group of cannabis patients with some Denver Relief employees went to the 420 rally back in 2010.
Downtown.
Yeah, downtown Civic Center Park. It's the largest 420 rally in the world, that takes place on 420 in a city park, and it's crazy. You know, there's vendors there, and there's people that are not old enough to be smoking cannabis, and that there's a lot of good things that happen there. It's a very interesting social scene. It's a great social observation. But we go there and we picked up trash, and we picked up trash for several hours. We made a giant pile of the bags of trash that we collected. And we've now done that for 4 years. So we started off with like 10 people, and we collected like 30 or 40 trash bags that first year. This past year, we had over 150 volunteers. We collected over 375 bags of trash. Miguel Lopez, the gentleman who puts it on, allows us a couple of minutes to speak to the crowd on the stage and to encourage them to be responsible citizens and to give back as well.
Nice.
So that was the first thing. And then we started doing other things like we do free bicycle and wheelchair repair clinics in our courtyard.
I love that.
And we started working. E-Car Farm is a huge thing, and that's a local farm. It's essentially a CSA farm, and they grow primarily organic, but healthy produce to give to food banks here in Colorado. Generally speaking, when you go to a food bank, you get canned food. Just get what you get. And
crappy food, yeah.
These guys are growing fresh produce, and we go there, we help them. We're out there 5 times this year. We help them seed, we help them harvest, we help them till the land, and then just a couple weeks ago, through some of the other work that I do outside of Denver Relief, we helped them secure a large grant. They got $20,000, and the Denver Relief Green Team went back with some other people, like Elliot from Pink House was there, and he and Kayvon constructed a door, and they now have these doors, and we built walls for their hoop houses and helped them actually build a hoop house. And so this winter, they're going to be growing vegetables outside in the winter to be able to provide to these food banks, and Same Cafe on Colfax, the restaurant where you only pay what you can.
I didn't even know about that.
They
Same Cafe, so all may eat. And
donated 11,000 pounds of organic produce last year to the food banks.
Oh my God, and it's called E-Farm?
E-Car, E-K-A-R, E-Car Farms.
E-Car Farms,
Yep.
Okay, and how can people help?
If people are interested in helping or learning about the Green Team, they can go to the Denver Relief Green Team Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/Denver Relief Green Team. And there's an area where you can sign up there. You can also sign up on the Denver Relief website. There's an area that says Contact Us, and or it says Get Involved, perhaps. And you can give us your information there. We'll put you on our email list. We have several events coming up before the end of the year. we recently started working with another organization that Kayvon can speak about, but we're going to be feeding some homeless youth 2 Sunday nights in December. We are going to be, we're starting a new thing this winter in collaboration probably with Pink House, where we are going to shovel driveways for elderly and disabled patients and people, not necessarily patients, just people who need
help.
And so we're going to have an on-call group that goes out and shovels walks on snowy nights and snowy mornings. And we recently got involved with a brand new organization that Kayvon can speak about, but it's really cool.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Which one?
There's so many.
Yeah, we've got a bunch. Well, I asked because we just did a donation through the Green Team with the Lighting Science Group, which is they're the largest purchaser of LED diodes in North America, and we're working with them on a couple R&D projects in our facility to finally bridge the gap between LED and high-pressure sodium. We've always been non-believers, and they're starting to disprove us. But they donated recently 2,000 LED bulbs. Good to go package.
Chris
2
Walker,
big
right?
pallets. No, this is Neil Yorio and Shane Sullivan.
It's a different company.
Okay.
And yeah, but these guys are awesome. Based out of Florida, an ex-NASA engineer that worked on their sustainable farming project, so growing in space for cultivating for food. But donated 2,000 of these LED lamps over the weekend to flood reconstruction and Habitat for Humanity Flatirons. But what Ian was talking about is we have a hygiene collection bin at Denver Relief now. In Denver Relief, in our second waiting room, we have a bin for food and for coats and stuff like that. We added a second one for hygiene bins for the Harm Reduction Action Center. It's down on 7th and Santa Fe. It's the largest needle exchange in Colorado. Personal believer that after marijuana is legalized, this is like the next just asinine public health issue revolving around drugs. The fact that we have people that are addicted. We're criminalizing them, and if we're not criminalizing them, we're just ignoring them on the streets. So making sure that these people have a warm place to come eat, that they can have the counseling here, that they can get the hygiene products necessary to maintain that cleanliness while they're living on the streets, and just a place to go. But they're underfunded. It's hard for them to find a location. They're zoned out of pretty much everything. It's very similar to this industry, except the cities are a little bit tougher on them even. So we're just trying to do what we can to help them. Sexy Pizza is also doing another pie for them. We're actually going to be splitting it with our third location, opening up in January. It's going to be SSDP, Harm Reduction Action Center, and the Colorado Youth Symphony Orchestra, which I started sitting on the board for last year.
Right.
But really excited to get those folks some money and get them hopefully some more visibility and awareness, because it's definitely a big problem here in Colorado. Still.
That is fantastic. Yeah, and we can't forget about my favorite pizza, Sexy Pizza. Kayvon has 2 or 3 locations now. Did you just open it?
No, 3 in January.
3 in January. Yeah. So 2 now. All right, we'll need to take a break. We'll be right back.
iVita Wellness is committed to compassionate patient care while providing the highest quality medicine at an affordable price. At iVita Wellness, patients can get top-shelf ounces for $150 every day. iVita Wellness also carries pharmaceutical-grade pure CO2 oil. iVita Wellness is located in Uptown Denver on 1616 Pearl Street, open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can reach us at 303-952-9150 or our website at www.ivitawellness.com. iVita Wellness is Denver's Compassionate Care Center.
This segment was brought to you by The Farm, a medical marijuana care center located at 2801 Iris Street in Boulder. The Farm carries premium cannabis, edibles, and Hummingbird brand products. Visit our new cannabis lifestyle store for your local artesian glass, vaporizers, and hemp clothing. The Farm has been serving Boulder since 2009. Isn't it time you come and see what we have to offer?
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
I don't even know what to say. It's just so important to give back. And Can Labs definitely plans on helping out with community stuff for sure, because I definitely think it's important. And listen, when I found out you guys had the wheelchair and the bicycle stuff, I mean, it's just amazing. marijuana has such a, well, it doesn't in Colorado anymore really, but it always has that dark cloud around it. And so anything that we can do to help.
Well, there were a lot of people at the start of this industry that tried to do these little things, the turkey drives around Thanksgiving.
And MMAPA, remember?
Yeah, MMAPA. With them, there are groups that try to do a lot, and now that we've established ourselves and we have become more normal,
right,
quote unquote, people kind of blew that off, which is unfortunate. And we think this industry should just continue that, which is why we're kind of taking on some of the burden for other folks that don't feel like doing that anymore. But yeah, places like the clinic that do it in a different way. They do the MS fundraiser.
They do the MS fundraiser, and I'll tell you firsthand that that Max Cohen has given. I mean, he's on the top 5, I think, for MS here, and the clinic's on the top 10. And we were at the last one, and literally it was weird. There was a lady that was talking about the groups coming through the start of the line, right? Oh, we have Colorado, whatever, coming through the line, and conveniently that microphone broke when the clinic was coming through, really? And then all of a sudden it was fixed again. It was really a disappointment, and I think Max really had to convince them of letting him have a booth there for a while, which is ridiculous. And I heard another rumor, and I'm not sure it's true, that the breast cancer, that they won't take cannabis money.
Children's Hospital turned down a donation from us.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I wonder how the parents of those children feel about that. Because
it was a couple years ago, and things may have changed since then. There were some organizations that we worked with. There were even organizations that we worked with from year to year that accepted donations. Like we collected coats and blankets for a battered women's and children's shelter in Denver. And we did it one year, and they thanked us, and they gave us a grand tour, and we went in and showed us the facilities and thanked us for just everything that we did. And then we contacted them. They wrote us a thank you note, and then we contacted them the next year and said, we want to do this again. They said, sorry, we can't do it. Our board of directors was appalled by what we did, and they're worried that if we do this, that our federal funding will get cut off, and we don't have a lot of dollars, and we simply can't take the risk. And it was it was really a disappointment. But quite honestly, if you don't want to take our donations, fine. There's plenty of other groups and charities that do.
You're right. But kids don't have that ability.
No, it was really sad, and it was unfortunate, and that was several years ago as well.
Right.
It was, I think, originally in 2010, and we tried to do it again in 2011, and we were denied. And we found other groups to donate to, and they were very grateful to receive the goods and services that we could provide for them, and so we'll continue to work with those groups, the ones that are grateful.
Right. No, yeah, that's the truth. I mean, the truth is it's money and
and food and clothing and soap and shampoo and jackets and
it's unbelievable. So what is your advice then to people that are starting up in the cannabis community? What advice would you give them?
Have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Besides that. Yeah, have more money than you think.
And this is, one of the things that we spoke about recently in Seattle at the MMJBD conference was what we're dealing with is a marriage of marijuana acumen and business acumen. People generally, if they're good growers, if they've had that history in marijuana, they're probably not the best businessmen. They probably don't have the best business sense, whereas somebody who's made a living in business and has this money has generally stayed away from marijuana. Granted, there's exceptions to those rules, but that's usually how it goes. So we're having to take these people that are just on complete opposite ends of the spectrum and get them together. So just really finding those people that you need to work with, because you will need other people. The industry is so big, there's so many pieces to it anymore that it can't be a one-man show, one-woman show. You got to have a team. I mean, we're talking about Massachusetts, Connecticut teams of 10, 15, 20 people. I mean, it takes a lot of disciplines. There's a lot of different factors and pieces in this business now, but just really vetting the people that you're going into business with.
That's right.
And in this industry, more so than any other, it's extremely important, because people do have checkered pasts that could come back to haunt you in a license. People do have we've seen a lot of people with that business savvy try to come in and take advantage of the industry, promising money, promising connections, promising an in, and really just ripping people off. It's about working with people that know the industry and that know the people in the industry. So being member of the National Cannabis Industry Association, for instance, we can generally take any name in the business in America, and granted, we know these people too, but you could give it to NCIA if you didn't and say, what do you think of these people?
Exactly.
And if they're not a member, you might not want to deal with them. Not to say that there aren't people that aren't members that aren't good players in the industry, but we're getting to a point where
they're not supporting the industry either.
You need to be
you have to
be a member of the industry and be active and be a participant. So really that's the best place to start as far as the people in the industry, but just vetting the partners and having agreements in place and documenting responsibilities and expectations and yield and money and identifying who's doing what and for how long and how much is that person getting paid. These are all things that a lot of people just go in thinking this is what it's going to be like, and we're all just going to go down these paths when all of a sudden you get in, it just starts exploding, and you have to go in 10 different directions a piece, and then somebody always feels like they're doing more, and somebody always feels like somebody else is doing less.
Right.
Put those expectations down on paper.
Absolutely.
Put down what people are putting in on paper and have expectations for staying together and separating.
Absolutely. The worst. You need to plan for the worst, because if it's great, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
I mean, that's the bottom line. Well, it's very interesting that you said that, because a guy called me from Mass in March, and he was like, "Oh my God, we've got to get this going," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "You've never been in the industry?" He's like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, so what you'll understand is it takes a long time." I said, "There probably won't even be testing in Mass until next year." "Oh no, blah blah blah." And sure enough, I saw him at the symposium, and he goes, "God, you were right." And I was like, "Yeah, it helps to be experienced in this, and just because it comes legal, then you have all these other battles to fight and get through." So it does pay. And also, like you said, look at NCIA or talk to somebody that's in the industry, and they can probably give you the information that you need to know on that certain consultant or whatever. And don't be afraid to ask things, right? Don't be afraid to ask who the consultant's working with and all of that kind of stuff, because you're giving them maybe your life savings to do this, and you really need to make sure.
A lot of scam artists out there in the consulting world.
A ton.
We're dealing with them in a lot of states. And all I can say is that if you have somebody that wants a huge non-refundable retainer on the front end and can't give you a shit ton of information about what they're going to be providing you for that money, get out.
Red flag. Yep.
Template agreements, and we go into every single relationship understanding that every single one of those people is different, and they're going to want something different from us, and every deal needs to have a different pay structure, a period, a term. It needs to, sometimes it's talking, sometimes it's deliverables, sometimes we're needed. If I need to be in Massachusetts and I'm stationed here in Denver, it's awfully tough. So, finding out these things on the front end and just having as many conversations as you can on the front end, because a lot of times these people that are outside the industry don't even know what they're going to encounter down the road. So to try to scare them on the front end and I don't mean scare them out of it, but if you can't take talking about it, you're not going to take it when it comes.
Absolutely.
Time to do
or
it.
If anyone tells you that they've helped get a license in California, there are no licenses in California. People need to realize that.
There are a lot of there's some very easy ways, I think, when selecting clients and things to ask for. One is referrals from existing clients, and if a consulting firm, which most of them are unable to give you them, and they'll tell you, our clients don't want us to share that information, or we're not at liberty to disclose it, or whatever. Like, ours are on our website. You can go there. We're happy to provide you names, phone numbers. Like, that's a very clear one. Working with, I worked in California. That's a very clear one. We're starting to get a lot of clients that are troubled, that are calling us last minute saying, "Hey, I hired X, Y, and Z, and it's a total joke. I've paid thousands of dollars for this." If you get a templated document that is like 2 or 3 pieces of paper that says how you're going to make your money back in 3 months, it's probably not a consulting firm that you should work with. And there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that
make sure you rewind this show so you can get what Kayvon just said.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have no business being in this industry, and I'm glad to tell you that they are not members of the National Cannabis Industry Association.
So make sure when you pick a consultant, they are, and call somebody else from NCIA and ask about them.
Absolutely.
Regardless of, hey, do you know him? Well, no, but I've heard this. I mean, just make sure you get everything verified for sure.
I am the chairman of the board of the National Cannabis Industry Association. I would be happy to speak with anybody if they ever have any questions about clients or consultants. We certainly encourage people to work with other consultants. We did a lot of work in Massachusetts. We led the effort to present a letter to DPH, Department of Human Services out there, that was shared concerns from several different consulting firms and law firms saying, as cannabis professionals in these states and us being consultants in these states, this is our shared concern, and these are some things that we want to go over with you. And they absolutely accepted and made several changes that we made, and that was with other consulting firms. So there are plenty of other good ones.
And industry groups too, because here in Colorado we have the issue of having 3 separate industry groups.
Right.
Denver Relief is not a member of any of those 3 because we don't feel that they are in line with what the industry needs. They're in line with their special interests and their personal interests and the interests of their business, which is fine. But at the same point, we see a bigger picture, and that is that we all have to work together if we want to make this happen. And
that's right.
Our clients that don't even have applications that are still or don't have licenses are still competing with each other in mass are working with each other to share information because we've bred that culture.
That's awesome.
And we're going to create some industry groups out there that are going to be
fantastic,
a heck of a lot more participatory and a heck of a lot more productive than what we've seen here in Colorado.
Yeah, that is a problem here, and I am not a member either, and I'm looking to have one group here in Colorado, and if we can't make that work, it's really pathetic. But
Ian and I will get to work on that.
Yeah, we should, because we don't have a lot to do, especially you. No, but I mean, that is a big importance, and we talk about it over and over again, that it's got to be together. I mean, I remember Matt Cook saying, if you guys don't pull it together, it will go away just like horse racing or dog racing or whatever racing it was. The industry couldn't keep it together, and they were their own demise, and God forbid, I don't want that to happen to us.
We're not necessarily going to see it go away here in Colorado, but we're going to see things happen that just aren't going in the right direction. And we'll see things that couldn't have been as good as they could have been if we had just worked together and had a unison voice as opposed to 3 different chatterboxes coming from different angles with different agendas.
Right. Absolutely. Well, we are 5 minutes out of time. Actually, no, we started a little bit late. But okay, so let's talk about how people can get a hold of Denver Relief. And as you heard, Denver Relief Consulting may not take your application, but are willing to pass you on to another good consultant. And then Green Team. How can people get a hold of you guys?
Sure. Denver Relief is located, as Kayvon was saying, in the heart of Broadway. It's the center of Denver, in the center of the country, where marijuana is legal. 1 Broadway. Our address, or our phone number is 303-420-MEDS. We can be found online at denverrelief.com. You can find the Denver Relief page on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Denver Relief Consulting is also located at 1 Broadway. We're right above our retail location. Please do not just drop in. But our phone number there is 303-420-PLAN, 303-420-7526. Can be found online at denverreliefconsulting.com. Both Denver Relief Consulting have their own Facebook and Twitter pages. Denver Relief can be found on Instagram. We love social media. And the Green Team only has a Facebook page, but you can access it through both Denver Relief and Denver Relief Consulting.
perfect. And I hope that we start getting some calls to see how people can start in their own states, the green teams and et cetera. So thank you guys so much for coming on. I will have you guys on soon so we can go over what's happened in the last couple of months with Mass and Connecticut and Illinois and all the other places. But it's an honor, you guys, and I it's so important to stick with people that you have the same goals and integrity with. So, good job.
Love you, Jen.
Yeah, I think we think you're great. It's an honor to be here. And
Thank you so much.
Awesome to watch you develop into the business professional that you've become over these past several years as well.
Such a lovely young lady.
Oh, it's been brutal. Do I look beat up? No, I'm kidding.
Aside from those black eyes.
Yeah, aside from those wrinkles. But anyway. All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Take care.